The afterlife, I just don't know. All that time, I just don't know. The afterlife, I just don't know. I just won't know. I just won't know.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is The End of the World with Michael and Stu, Afterlife Edition.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Stu, and that's right, we are talking. I thought I'd add a little Afterlife Edition thing there, just mix up the intro. That's
You didn't even tell me, and I still...
Well, I literally did not think to do it until I was in the moment. It was one of those... it's one of those signs that I should probably do improv, if we're being honest.
The types of synergies that you can only get as a pair across Zoom over 120 episodes of a podcast.
Recorded in 19 different locations by Michael Terry and one by Stu Watson.
Settled in now.
That's good. I approve this message. So today we're covering ancient Greece. As you might imagine, I was updating my CV recently, and I've learned that I've taught ancient Greek literature at least 18 times in my life.
Just 18?
Yeah, just 18 separate sections. Sometimes as many as 3 in one semester, which was one of the good old days back when I used to get endless classes. No more, thanks Obama.
Death of everything.
Yeah.
Thank you, Obama.
In any case.
Speaking, of course, of Malia.
Who's the one who undid.
I'm not responsible for gutting the New York school system.
No. Before we get into the specifics of our beloved ancient Greeks and their view of the world to come, Michael has conceived of one of his famous hypotheticals, which are...
Although I will say... I didn't really factor in until after that it's not an afterlife hypothetical, but because what we are talking about deals with some elements of judgment and how you live your life or what you get out of your life, right? What kind of person you are, what do you do with your time? We'll be covering that in this podcast. This does sort of apply.
I haven't heard this, by the way. I'm completely cold. I have some indications of what it involves, and I'm horrified. I just want to get that out off the top.
I feel like my hypothetical questions have, and we know this, have been criticized by some of our regular listeners.
They're what I would have called in the early days of the podcast, scene dividing.
Yes, exactly. And of course, as soon as there wasn't one in the Afterlife episode, there were concerns raised that why isn't there one of Michael's stupid hypotheticals? So I once again tried to craft one that, I'm trying to bring something a little bit different. I'm not just going to be like, you can help one person, but I will admit that they have yet to really stump you. So I was trying to come up with one where you didn't immediately just be like, well, that's so stupid. Of course I would do that.
Sure.
Right. So this is a little more complicated, but, and it's extremely simple. Okay. So we'll start with the very basic question. So you have 2 choices. Okay. I'm going to read the 2 choices.
Well, hold on. I have to choose one of 2 options is what you're saying.
That's right.
Okay.
And then we'll get down to a few of the other considerations.
Sure.
Choice number 1. You can eat any meal of your choosing once a day for your entire life. Okay.
Okay.
No matter what the nutritional value, it will not impact your health, and you will live a normal lifespan. Rest of the day, you eat normally. At the end of your life, you get to die peacefully. Okay?
Okay.
You get one last great meal with your loved ones.
This is very involved, but go on.
It is. You die at 80. This is important. Okay? But despite having this experience every day, you remain in decent health for your age right until death. The meals themselves are designed such that the taste and experience remain wonderful, no matter how often you dine.
So you don't get tired of the same thing eating it.
You do not get bored of the taste. It's that feeling you get when you have a great meal. It stays.
And it's every day one of the meals is this.
Every day, once a day. Also, it does not cost you any more money than a regular meal.
Okay.
From my calculations, the meal roughly includes app, main, dessert. Okay. That's the first choice.
So I can have that, but I die at 80 and
but you go out, like you get this decent life and you have one last great meal.
And it's like on my 80th birthday, I die. Like, so I know the date of my death.
No, that's not like that. You got to move beyond that. You still just die in that range.
Okay.
Choice number 2. You live until 160. Okay. Now, to clarify, your entire aging process is slower accordingly.
So when I'm 160, I'm like I'm 80.
That's right. But the process merely takes doubles. Each sort of stage of life is twice as long. We'll get into that in a second. I think that does matter. Okay. Now, in order to be able to do that, okay? So, for example, you get your childhood twice as long, adolescence,
so
20s.
So this is like something you decide before you're born, and
the first hypothetical was actually, what would you choose for your children, right?
Sure.
Or if you could go all the way back, like and you could somehow choose at the beginning. Your 20s are 20 years long, etc. Got it?
Yep.
Okay. You have to eat shit once a day.
Like how much? Okay?
Now, you have to eat like one log, essentially. let's call it like let's actually go a little smaller. Let's go with like a Nathan's hot dog.
Okay.
Let's say.
Seems like a lot.
Now, oh yeah, I mean it's once a day, you got to do this, okay? Now, it's key to point out the shit itself does not actually hurt your body or impact your health.
It does taste like feces.
But just like the meal remains amazing. It is designed so that the sensation of eating shit
you never get used to it. Okay.
You cannot acquire this taste. It's designed such that no matter how often you eat it, the odor and taste, whether it's reprogrammed or whatever, remains foul.
People are going to hate this so much. I mean,
you are not feeling amazing.
I'm already getting infuriated on behalf of our listeners.
You are not feeling amazing for about half an hour. Okay?
So I lose half an hour every day because of the shit
You're not puking. You're not puking. Well, okay. Yes, you lose half an hour. However,
but you gain.
You live till 100.
All right. So obviously you take the shit eating, like, end of discussion.
You would take the shit eating.
Of course.
This is fascinating to me because this is the first one where I have been opposite everything I thought that you would say. I have thought and now like I agree that at first blush one would think that, right?
A
couple of things. One, there really is nothing better than a great meal.
That's true. But I mean, eating shit once a day does not preclude me from having a great meal for the other meal.
Well, but you're not going to be able to afford. You don't then get the great meals on the house.
Why? Because I'm poor for some reason?
Well, how often do you have a great meal, Stu?
I'm not that big of a foodie, so.
Well, fair enough. Now, let's go to the second question then.
Sure.
Starting today. Okay?
Yes.
So, we are running out of time.
Oh, come on. Sure.
I mean, 35 years left if we're doing this 80-year thing, right? Staring down the barrel of the second half of our lives, no doubt.
For sure.
So, would you do it now, or would you extend to get to 115? Now, you can't go back and do all the really fun. 'Cause I think the reason you eat shit ultimately, to me, is 20 years of like childhood, of like 0 to 10 childhood. Oh, can you imagine, right? I'm now at the point at 40. I'm 40, almost 43. You're 40. You just turned 45, right? So we're at the point now where like it's already diminishing returns. You see what I'm saying? Like you don't get to be 20 by eating shit starting now. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got it.
So now you got 45 to 80, best meal of your life every day. Okay. or 45 to 115, where this life that we have takes twice as long. Now I think you got something to think about.
Nope. Still do the shit eating.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, I don't feel my life's quality of life diminishing as much as you do, or at least I don't obsess about it as much as you do.
Your quality of life is going to diminish, obviously. What I'm saying is that from 0 to 45, right, you would get to do that twice as long. And I think that would be a better and more significant payoff.
Sure.
Than living from 45 to 115, starting at 45. Without your great meal, eating shit every day, which again, you often do this with these hypotheticals too, where you just sort of say like for sure. And I honestly don't think that you really grapple with that moment of the day.
It could also just be
every single day.
Well, Michael, but it could also just be that we have different outlooks on aging. And the years that bring the philosophic mind have touched me.
That's right. I think that you're thinking about something different. I agree that you probably have a more positive view of how you will age than I do. I'm not going to fight you on that one. I'm talking about that you, again, same with what was the other one? I forget the other one. Is like you had to listen to the same album or nothing.
Right, which I thought was not even a big deal.
Where you immediately were like, and my thing that I honestly think that you do is I think you discount the torture of these things. And so you can't get
Here's the other thing, though, that you're not
just start tasting okay.
Michael, like you're not maybe as into routine as I am.
Into the routine of eating shit that smells and tastes like shit and like makes you feel like shit for half an hour every 24 hours?
Yeah, but I mean, like routine is routine.
You're telling me right now, like I don't
I'm
even know.
I'm thinking more about the album one in this case, but like the idea of listening. But the idea of doing the same thing every day is not as terrifying to me as it is to you, perhaps.
No, but again, what's not terrifying to me is doing something every single day. It's that I don't think that the act of eating shit is appropriately terrifying to you from the ease with which you're like, oh, I could live for, like, first of all, like, what's another 80 years if we're really breaking it down? Secondly, like, every day. So I did a little math. That means if you choose the 160 years option.
Sure.
Just like you're so sure, right? You know you're going to do
So it's 365 times whatever.
58,400 hot dog sized pieces of shit that you've had to eat and not gotten used to the taste of, but you had to do it your entire life. Whereas I, yes, I'm not living from 80 to 160 and having twice as long an experience along the aging process. Every day, I'm out here having the greatest meal of my life, and I can't get used to it. And I think that's where I would go.
Okay. I think my problem with this hypothetical is this, because I think this is really about Brian Johnson in a certain way, right? It's about the guy who's going to starve himself and steal his son's blood or whatever in order to live as long as possible. It's kind of what this is giving to me, to use the parlance of today.
But yeah.
No, but I mean, like, how much are you willing to torture yourself to live forever is kind of the question. Now, for me, this shit-eating hypothetical, which I find utterly ridiculous, obviously, is less... I would do that before I would be Brian Johnson and be like endlessly obsessing over my blood glucose and like my estrogen versus T levels and stuff.
But again, with this hypothetical, regardless of how ridiculous.
The other thing is, though, this idea of somehow you don't get used to anything just violates human nature.
Yes, but that's the whole point of a ridiculous hypothetical. It's that these moments of your day, you are able to exist in a non-human way in that you don't die when you keep eating shit every day and you don't get used to a great meal. That's what's fun about the hypothetical. Obviously, if you just got used to it, you would choose more like living longer. So there'd be no point in the question. The whole point is I'm out here every day having the greatest culinary experience of my life. And then I tap out at 80. Again, let's be clear. You're at 80, but you remain in decent health for your age. Right?
Sure.
Death.
I mean,
you get a great meal with your loved ones at the end. the meals don't cost money. I think you're way too quick to just be like, oh, these 80 years would be so much more important, and not factoring in that yes, the break from reality is that you will keep eating and tasting shit every day. You'd have to think about it every day. Oh, what time do I have to eat my shit? And I'm telling you, I don't know if I want 160 years of having to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a lot closer than anything. And I think if I had to choose, I would go 80 and a meal.
All right.
Definitely at 45.
Well, this is not actually unrelated to our topic in a strange way. So I know that already I could feel people clicking unsubscribe on the pod after hearing 15 minutes of this.
That's ridiculous.
Anyway, so where did we leave off last time? The Zoroastrians. We both thought pretty good, right? Pretty compelling, pretty nice vision of the afterlife. And the Greeks, coming out of this same general geographic region, their early ideas of the afterlife share a lot in common with the Mesopotamians, who we covered earlier in the series, and with the earlier ideas of the Zoroastrians. But it's not something you're going to like. Basically, the earliest vision we have is like in the Iliad, which is probably slightly older than the Odyssey. The dead are just kind of disembodied shades. You die, you go to Hades, right? This is the realm ruled by Hades, the god of death who lends his name to this domain. And you're just kind of a ghostly figure kind of moping about in a place called the Asphodel Fields. And regardless of whether you are Achilles, the greatest hero, Tiresias, the most powerful sage, or some lowly murderer, you're all there together. And the only people who get any differentiation at all are those who are favored of the gods. And they are favored of the gods not because of anything they did, but primarily because they married people related to the gods. So the example we have of this from the Odyssey is Menelaus. Menelaus is the guy whose wife, Helen of Troy, gets kidnapped, starts the whole Trojan War debacle, right? But even though he loses Helen, she spends 10 years with Paris in Troy. He still gets to go to the Elysian Fields because Helen is the daughter of Zeus. And that's just how it works. The Elysian Fields.
Tale as old as time, right?
What's that?
Tale as old as time.
Song as old as rhyme. Beauty and Menelaus, the beast in this case. Yeah, basically it's doesn't matter that he is the archetypal cuckold, right? That he has the cuckold's horns, as Shakespeare would put it. So that is the earliest vision. The Elysian Fields are nice. It's pleasant. It's never too hot. It's never too cold. You can feel the pleasantness. When you're a shade, you basically move around in a state of irritability. You're not like tortured per se, but you're just kind of unhappy. You don't really know who you are anymore. You lose most of your memories.
Remember?
No, you don't. You don't have your memories. We'll talk about that and why that is in a little more detail in a minute. And we know this because in the Odyssey, Odysseus has to speak with Tiresias. Tiresias, the great seer of Greece, the great prophet, featured in many plays by Sophocles, Euripides et al. And what Odysseus has to do is he has to go to the farthest point west in the known world, which people think is the Pillars of Hercules, the Strait of Gibraltar, basically. And he does a sacrifice in a specific location, and because of this sacrifice being offered to Tiresias, his shade is able to be re-embodied briefly. And it kind of comes out of this hole he digs in the earth.
As a reward or something? Well,
the idea is that when you're dead, you're basically disembodied, moving around listlessly, but you can kind of be re-embodied if one of your descendants makes an offering to you.
Okay.
So it's like you're kind of temporarily nourished by the offering. You're given an additional 80 years by the delicious meal that is, if you will. And so, other than those times, though, so when all your descendants are dead and you're like some great 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 grandfather, chance of you getting that specific offering not so high, right? So you're basically looking at eternity as a kind of non-entity, right? And that's
Sorry, man. You're looking at eternity.
Oh, your last grandson just died, Tiresias. Bad news. You've been forgotten. Now, I think the idea here is that if you were famous, like Tiresias, Achilles, maybe even centuries after your death, there might be people still making offerings to you. So you might have that little juice, right? But this is the earliest version of the Greek afterlife we're familiar with. And over time, there is a shift towards a conception that will be more familiar to us from last week and more familiar to us from Christianity. Right. And that is that the idea of judgment starts to enter in. The idea that maybe Achilles does get to go to the good part of the afterlife because he was so cool and famous and such a great hero. It doesn't matter that his mother was just a minor goddess and not one of the main goddesses, right? And in order for this to happen, you have to be judged, okay? So these three mythological figures emerge. I don't remember exactly when we first hear of them. They're kind of mentioned, I think, in passing in the Odyssey, but we're not sure when this develops. But basically, there are three judges in the underworld. And they put you through a kind of test similar to what we talked about last week with the Chinvat Bridge, right? The that moment of where the angel appears and like has the book of your life, the sort of the familiar structure.
It can either like help you across or send you places.
Exactly. Well, in this case, there are three judges. Okay, there's Minos, who is the former king of Crete, famous from the Minotaur, right? He had the son who was a half bull and he had to keep him in the labyrinth and Theseus killed him with the help of his daughter Ariadne, right? After he died, they were like, well, he had a rough go with the bull son thing. So let's make him the judge of the afterlife.
Everyone.
Yeah. And then his brother Rhadamanthus is also one of the judges. Minos is the head judge. He has the final say over what punishments or rewards are meted out to the dead. Rhadamanthus is allegedly the fairest judge, and it's his job to make sure that the dead get a fair trial, that there's no bias, that that no hearsay gets in. And then the last is Iacchus, and he's the record keeper. He's the one who has the scroll of all your deeds in life, right? And he also makes sure that the punishment is carried out in the proper way or the reward is meted out. So we've got these three guys down in hell judging you. Seems pretty reasonable so far, right?
Yeah.
And they can punish you or reward you. And we don't hear too much about the people.
Do they all debate or do they just have these separate jobs?
I assume you come before them and the one pulls out the scroll, presents it to the other two, and
Rhadamanthus is like, well, hey, now let's not take that too seriously. Or there were mitigating circumstances here.
Exactly. Like last time we were talking about, like, well, smoking is a sin, but it's really not that big a deal. We don't need to damn him to smoke 1,000 cigarettes a day for eternity, or, eating shit is forbidden, but we don't need to force him to eat a log every day for 80 years, if you will. Sorry, I'm still tormented by the hypothetical, as you can tell. And basically, this is, they're in hell. There's a couple other mainstays of hell. There's a lot of people in hell if you look into it, but the main ones are these guys. Obviously everyone who's ever died is there, but also Hades, right? Hades is one of the three main male gods in the Olympian canon. The other two being, of course, Zeus, the king of the gods, and Poseidon, who's the god of the sea and earthquakes and horses, right? They're the three brothers, and they're the top three male
I'll
gods.
take the sea, earthquakes, and horses.
That's right. Yeah. They're all related. Like earthquakes and the sea are
Sure.
kind of related. Horses, the thundering of the hooves is related to the earthquakes. I think there's a myth about horses coming out of the sea too. There's of course the beloved creature, the sea horse.
Yes,
Don't think that was a factor per se. So most shades, regardless, will still end up in the asphodel fields. They'll still be in a pretty boring afterlife.
okay.
Some people will be shuttled off to the Elysian fields, the good part. You know, hey, you did a good job. You saved that granny from drowning that time. You know,
How close is that to like a Christian heaven?
I think pretty close, but it's all quite weird.
It doesn't feel as sensational, right?
No, I don't think I don't think it is. It isn't like the eternal salvation promised by JC. Instead, I think it is just kind of a more pleasant version of eternity. There's also a thing about Greek afterlife that's a little different. Is it feels more physical than other versions. Like there's like a cave you can go in and like theoretically get down to Hades. Sure. And some tellings, the Elysian fields are actually on the earth still. They're just at a part that no one can get to.
But so what the distinction between what makes the Elysian fields better than the other fields?
I mean, you can kind of still know who you are. You can have fun.
Okay.
It's pleasant.
You can have fun.
Yeah. And
you don't get used to that.
There's light still. You're not just forever in darkness of the cave, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, well, the problem with all immortalities or afterlives is that you get used to it, right? I mean, we've talked about this. Heaven is a place where nothing ever happens. Death is the mother of beauty, mystical, in whose burning bosom we divine our earthly mothers waiting sleeplessly, you know, etc. As well as Stevens. I think probably quoted that several times already. But so let's talk about the punishments, though, because the punishments are some of the most famous negative outcomes that can
in the history of the world, really.
Yeah, I mean, they provide much of we still use them as metaphors to this day. Probably who would you say is the most famous of all the people punished in hell in the Greek myths?
Sisyphus?
It's got to be Sisyphus, right? Just like thanks in part to Camus and the Myth of Sisyphus essay, which you may have read at some point. The plight of modern man is to be Sisyphus pushing the boulder forever up the hill.
Right, but then is that's what you're arguing? He would get used to pushing it up the hill? Well,
unless they have some sort of Michael Terry-esque spell that prevents them from...
Right, so then it's not that much of a punishment then, right? That's the idea?
I think Sisyphus still gets tired, though. I think he's still miserable. So let's talk about how Sisyphus got that punishment. The main way you'd be punished is by committing hubris, right?
This is my favorite. This was like the big crime, right?
Hubris is the big crime. We think of hubris as being arrogant, right? Like, what's an example of hubris that you can think of from sports? I know you like sports.
Flying too close to the sun.
Well, that's Icarus. That's not really hubris, though. That's something else. That's just stupidity.
There's a bit of arrogance in it, though, isn't there?
Yeah, but hubris specifically means insulting the gods. So, but I was thinking like in our modern usage, it means more.
That's not quite the way it's used, right?
Well, no, in our modern usage, we think of it as being like, I can never be defeated. And then getting knocked out in the first round.
Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas.
That's an example of hubris. Not training adequately for an opponent you perceive to be inadequate and therefore being humiliated in front of the world and having your unbeatable record destroyed, right?
That's right.
I'm trying to think of another sports analogy. The Yankees being up 3-0, winning 17.
Yeah, but they didn't really
They weren't gloating about it, I guess.
No, they still, they just kind of quietly crumbled.
They quietly collapsed. I can't think. I feel like there's an obvious example that we're missing.
I mean, there's no one. Is there anyone famous who's like guaranteed victory, like Joe Namath, and then lost? I know Daniel Alfredson.
I mean, there was Jason Terry getting the championship Celtics tattoo.
Oh yeah, that's true. You know what else is a good one? It's when I think they were called the Wizards at this point. It was a John Wall Beal team.
Yeah, they were definitely the Wizards.
And they all wore black
to announce the funeral of their.
They announced the funeral of, it was the Celtics, I believe, and then they got stomped.
Yeah, so I mean, this occurs in sports, right? But in the ancient context, the real meaning of hubris is doing something that insults a god. Now, often this takes the form of comparing yourself to the gods, which is where the modern idea, acting like you're a god. That's where the modern idea of like hubris as arrogance comes from, right? Mm-hmm. So, Arachne, this doesn't involve the afterlife, but Arachne is like, I'm a better weaver than even Athena. And Athena's like, is that so? And they have a contest. When she loses, Athena transforms her into a spider as punishment for her hubris, right? So she's insulted a god by deigning to imagine she is on the same level as a god. But you can also insult a god almost by accident. The gods are not fair about this. So here's what Sisyphus did. Famously, as we've said, sends to push a boulder up a steep hill for eternity, only just as he's getting to the top for it to slip out of his grasp, roll back down, and for him to start all over again. This cycle essentially never ending. Now, the reason he was sentenced to this is because Zeus was chasing a woman whom he wanted to take advantage of, shall we say. And Sisyphus was watching, and this woman ran by, and Zeus, in the form of some monster or whatever, went by after. And then a second later, her father, who was a wood nymph or some king or something, who knows, came by and said, which way did they go? And Sisyphus said, they went that way, and pointed to where they had run. And the man ran, and he caught up to them and saved his daughter from Zeus. And Zeus,
how did he do that, though?
It's not important. Zeus, I don't know, Zeus was getting ready. He was preening. Come on.
Some god, though. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I think the guy was powerful, too. He wasn't like, he wasn't a completely normal human. He was able to say, hey, Zeus, this is not part of our deal. Zeus said, you got me. All right. And remember, the Greek gods are fallible, monstrous, imperfect. They're not these divine, they don't have the same level of divinity as a Jesus or a god, right? So Zeus saw this and was like, okay, you prevented me from getting what I want. So when you die, he doesn't kill Sisyphus. He waits for Sisyphus to live a long life, and Sisyphus dies. And when he dies, he wakes up to find that he will forever be engaged in a task that he can never successfully complete. So he prevented Zeus from completing the, conquest of this woman.
Right.
So it's kind of
a lot of these punishments seem to take on this kind of poetic quality.
That's right. They're very ironic. And that is one of the chief aspects of them. But I don't know how useful of a warning this is, right? Like, what's the lesson you take from this? Oh, well, if I'm ever witnessing like a rape in progress, I shouldn't stop it. Like that's clearly not the lesson that the story is trying to impart, right?
Right.
But like, it's like, don't interfere with the affairs of your betters or something. Like,
right. And some of them, it's almost as though it's not even really their fault.
Well, that one for Sisyphus isn't, in some versions of the story, there are other crimes Sisyphus committed, but
because how's he supposed to know who he's getting in the way of?
Well, I think he knows it's Zeus. He can tell. It's like Zeus in the form of a giant monster or a swan or some, one of the creatures he transforms into.
But he's just trying to be a good guy. Tell the dad. Hey.
Well, the dad comes and is like, hey, which way did they go? And he's like, that away. It's not like he's like, I'm going to get Zeus. There's no scheming involved. I think it's just, so I think this probably,
or right place, right time, but wrong outcome.
I think the second most famous of these is probably Tantalus, right? he of being tantalized. Now, this is quite different because Tantalus commits a crime that is egregious. Tantalus is friends with the gods. He's an ancient king. The gods are still hanging out a lot with mortals. He says, hey, gods, good news. Big party at my place this weekend. Why don't you all come over? The gods are like, great, can't wait. Tantalus has the best parties, etc. Now, Tantalus decides it would be fun if he played a little trick on the gods. So prior to the banquet, he murders his son, Pelops, cuts him into pieces, and serves him up in a big pie. The Greeks love nothing more than a child being murdered and served in a pie in their myths, right? This comes up constantly. The gods come to the banquet, and immediately they're all like, Tantalus, WTF. They all immediately recognize what's happened. They're appalled. They don't want to engage in cannibalism, except for Demeter, who just that week had her daughter kidnapped by Hades, who tricked her into eating these hell pomegranates, right? So she's in dismay. She's crying. She doesn't take the time to notice what's going on and takes a big slice of the pie and just eats it up before the other gods can stop her. In the process, eating Pelops' shoulder. Now, the gods are like, this is really not right. This is really messed up, Tantalus. They resurrect Pelops. They bring him back to life. Now, the shoulder, they have to make him the first prosthetic shoulder because they can't get that back from Demeter's belly. Pelops goes on to live a long life. He himself does terrible crimes akin to his father. These are the Peloponnesus is named for Pelops. This is the ancestors of, I believe, of Agamemnon. Like this is a few ways back, generations back before Agamemnon. But this is the first of a many cursed, a long cursed lineage. Okay. So Tantalus, they don't kill though. They let him live out his life. And when he dies, he finds that he is forever hungry, forever thirsty. But whenever he tries to pull some water out of one of the rivers in hell up to his mouth, it slips through his fingers. Whenever he reaches for some of the delicious fruit that's nearby in the hellish section of hell he's in, he's about to get the apple, the branch pulls away. And so he's forever hungry, forever tested. The message of this one is, don't kill your children and serve them in a pie. Like, but again, I think it's like, don't play pranks on your betters. Don't like mess with people. I'm not getting a strong moral message from this story. Are you?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that his name was Tantalus, and like we actually say it like tantalize.
Yeah, I mean that's where the word comes from.
No, I know. Just
it's like a Lou Gehrig. Isn't it weird? Lou Gehrig died of Lou Gehrig's disease. It's like one of those scenarios. All right. So last but not least is Ixion. Ixion's probably a little bit less well known, but he, like Tantalus, is just kind of an evil guy, right? So Ixion is a king, and he's going to get married. But he doesn't feel like paying the bridal price for his new wife. So he invites his father-in-law over and is ostensibly, we're going to have a big feast. I'm going to pay you the price. You know, it'll be great. Father's like, awesome. Can't wait. Comes over. Perfect. And Ixion has set up like a flaming pit under some weak floorboards. And the father comes in the house. Ixion's like, oh, what's that over there? The father turns, he pushes him. He falls through the floor. He burns to death. And Ixion has invited him into his home. So this is what George R. R. Martin would call a fundamental violation of guest right. And it's also kinslaying, right? Because it's his mother-in-law or father-in-law. It's a violation of xenia, hospitality, the most sacred of all Greek virtues, right? The gods don't like this. His neighbors don't like it. He's an outcast. He's persona non grata at all the festivals. But eventually Zeus is like, I kind of miss Ixion. Ixion is a pretty good guy. Why don't we give Ixion another chance? He invites Ixion to a banquet at Mount Olympus. Ixion's like, I'm back. I'm back in, baby. Yes. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. He's at the banquet, and he looks over, and he sees Hera, Zeus's wife, queen of the gods. And he's like, damn, Hera is fine. So he immediately, he's like licking his chops. And Zeus, of course, being a god, the king of the gods, notices this, and he's like, Ixion, what the fuck? But he doesn't say anything. Subtle. He's like, all right, I'm going to mess with Ixion a little bit here. He makes a cloud. He takes a cloud and he forms it into an apparition of Hera. And then he lets Ixion think that he's wooing Hera. Ixion goes off with this cloud, this Hera-shaped cloud, and they have sex. And weirder still, the cloud gets pregnant, okay?
What?
Yeah, the cloud will get pregnant and will give birth to a race of centaurs. This is where the centaurs come from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they're half man, half, I guess, cloud. But that somehow gets turned into horse. I don't know.
Is that because of the Poseidon thing?
Let's say it is, yes. It's maybe Poseidon's also the god of clouds. I don't know.
Wow, I mean, surely, right? Isn't that water?
It's water from the ocean. There we go. We've solved it. So Zeus is furious. He shows up and he's like, you thought you had sex with Hera. That wasn't Hera. That was a cloud, you moron. And unlike with Tantalus, he immediately just blasts Ixion to death with the lightning bolt.
Oh, awesome.
So Ixion's dead, and he's immediately in Hades. And Zeus has made some prearrangements with Hades. He's like, Ixion is to be bound to a wheel that will be turning forever over a fire pit.
So he's like, expect Ixion.
Yeah, he's like, Ixion, get Ixion's room ready for him, basically.
Yeah.
And it said that Ixion is still down there turning to this day, and that the only time Ixion ever had any relief was when Orpheus visited the afterlife, because so sweet was his music that even the flames and the turning wheel were charmed by it and rested. So those are three pretty good ones. There's many others, but those are the kind of the top three in my opinion. But this is the other thing. I said earlier, the ancient Greek underworld is visitable. Many heroes have just gone down there.
It's a nice quirk. Yeah, you can just kind of go check it out.
Well, if you're mighty enough, right? Because there's problems. One big problem is Cerberus. Cerberus also said, the three-headed dog that guards the gate to hell. Now, there are several entrances to Hades that you can get to, caves, different parts of Greece, maybe some even in Italy, some parts of the Mediterranean. But they all lead down to the central kind of area where the three-headed dog is.
Dog is chilling out.
Cerberus is terrifying. He's three heads because that way he can stay awake all the time, right? One of the heads can sleep, the other two are on watch. Also, he's covered in snakes. I didn't know this until now. They're just like deadly snakes, like growing out of his shoulders and stuff. And his tail is a vicious snake as well. They love this kind of thing, the Greeks. So Cerberus is mainly an obstacle to keep the dead from leaving hell, right? He doesn't want, if you're a shade and you happen to get near one of the gateways, Cerberus comes and scares you back. But if you're coming down from above, Cerberus is also going to notice, right? Because he can look in multiple directions, got the multiple heads, right?
Wait, he'll let people just go in?
No, not usually. You have to be extraordinary to do that. So the only people, there's...
So why? Like, why would he be protecting it?
Because he doesn't want you to rescue anyone, or,
I see.
Well, that's the main reason people come to hell, is to save someone. So Orpheus is probably the most famous of the visitors to Hades. And Orpheus is the first poet, the greatest of all poets, the inventor of song, first musician. His song is so beautiful, he can charm...
Quite the CV, right?
Yeah, he's got a good CV. Orpheus invented music and poetry. It's like, oh, I guess we got to let this guy into Harvard. Anyway, Orpheus has the ability to charm anything living, but also anything inanimate. His music is so beautiful. Pebbles are like moving closer to hear him, which is awesome. I love that idea. So he gets married to a beautiful woman named Eurydice. She gets bitten by a deadly snake just after their wedding. Classic. In some versions, she's running away from a satyr who's trying to rape her. She trips and falls into a viper nest and gets eaten. In others, she's just having a fun party. She's dancing about and a snake just... whoosh. Orpheus is overcome with grief, and his music after she dies is so sad the gods are moved to tears. Brutal.
just sits down and he has to write about it. Yeah.
That's right. It's tale as old as time once again. So the gods suggest, hey, you know what, Orpheus, this sucks. You should go to hell. Your music is so beautiful. I bet you could convince Hades and Persephone to let Eurydice.
It's worth a shot.
It's worth, roll the dice, right?
Yeah.
So he goes
What could go
down
wrong?
there. Cerberus, the wheel of Ixion, even maybe the boulder of Sisyphus are all charmed. Maybe Sisyphus gets a brief respite as his harp music is wafting through the caverns. And it works. Hades and Persephone are like, damn, you know what? Your song is so beautiful. It's fine. You can take her back out. It's good. But here's the one condition. You've got to walk all the way out of hell without looking back to check that she'll be following you.
This is about, you have to trust them, basically.
Yeah.
They're yeah. Okay.
Again, don't insult the gods by doubting their commands, right? And he's like, great, no problem. He walks all the way out of hell. He's good. But as soon as he gets out, he can't wait for Eurydice to emerge. He turns, not realizing the fool that he is, that she is still in the cave. And so as soon as he turns, her spirit sucked back into the afterworld forever.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about, according to the story, like how long was he out, right? You see what I'm saying? And not looking, right? Before he couldn't take it anymore. Do we know?
Not that long.
That's brutal.
I mean, I think it was an arduous journey back, right? I mean, presumably it was quite a trip to get to Hades, to hell, right? I mean, it's not just
some indication of how long they were going to test him for before they were really going to bring it. Do we even know that for sure they were going to follow through with this?
I mean, Plato asks questions like this, I think Plato called
I'm on some stronger ground in this section.
Absolutely. I think Aristotle or Plato was like, Orpheus is a coward. I think Plato said this. If he really loved Eurydice, he would have killed himself to be with her. Mm-hmm. This whole staying alive and using his powers to bring that's BS. That he's a coward. Tried to cheat.
I was just going to say he's a coward because he could have waited a little longer. Impatient.
He's not a coward. He's impatient. But I think that's pretty harsh from Plato, right? Plato's like, how dare he not just kill himself?
Right. Like he's worked out a thing. He's gotten really good at the harp.
Yeah.
Now he gets to go and make everyone's day. Everyone's happy as well. It's not like they're not all happy. They're having a good time.
Yeah.
They're liking the music. They finally agree to give someone else another shot.
So the other person, what's up?
Impatient is right.
Yeah.
Coward is.
Or also just like, he should have just gone home and like waited for her to come, right?
I think that's right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like surely at this point, like, so he must know what the gods are capable of, right?
Oh yeah.
So if he knows, then like you'd really be on your guard about looking back,
Oh yeah. I mean, these are the Greek
Is
gods.
it just that she's so beautiful? He's just so excited. Is that part of it?
Yeah, I think so.
He's so in love that he can't wait to see his
beloved return. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So the other person who's most famous for visiting hell is Heracles, aka Hercules, of the 12 labors, because his final labor, and this is a real doozy, you got to bring Cerberus out of hell.
Yeah, that's your big one. That's your big one.
He's already killed the lion of Nemea. He's wrestled with giants. He's cleaned the stables, done all the other stuff.
Get the dog. Go get the hell dog.
Got to go get the dog. The giant 3-headed dog covered in snakes. Yeah, go get that. So what does he do? He does it. He goes down. He's got his club. He bashes away, knocks Cerberus out, drags him up by his tail or whatever, presents him to the king, and finally his labors are over. And while he's down there, he also notices his buddy Theseus, a fellow Argonaut, is actually trapped in hell because Theseus's idiot brother fell in love with Persephone and thought it would be a good idea to go down to hell and kidnap her. This is the wife of Hades. So when Theseus and his brother get down there, Hades is like, welcome. Won't you sit down for a little banquet with us? And they're like, yeah, okay. And they sit down and immediately become glued to their chairs, chained there. Now, when Heracles is down there, he sees Theseus is like, hey, buddy, help me out. I'm chained to the chair here.
You're strong.
Heracles smashes the chair. Theseus is saved. The brother, the one who wanted to kidnap, he's left behind. He's still down there. He's still at that banquet table. Never to be sated, you know.
Right.
So I think the contrast with Orpheus is that, you know, Heracles achieves this through physical prowess.
Yeah.
Orpheus through the beauty of song, right? Now, last little part I want to go over before we wrap this up. Charon, right? You're familiar with Charon, the ferryman, the guy.
Ferryman.
Charon's pretty cool. I think that's one of the cooler parts. Like you're going down.
One of the cooler gigs.
And I think he's kind of like a skeleton guy too, right? He's got the like cloak on, but he's got a skull and he's got like a pole. So the idea with Charon was that
I just run the ferry.
I mean, we talked about Gilgamesh, and there is a ferryman in that too.
Right.
Shinabi. I wonder if there's some kind of connection there. But basically, when you die, your soul separates from the body, goes down, and finds itself in front of this river. Which river it is depends on the version of the myth. It's either the river Styx, most famous from the band Styx, most beloved of all bands, Styx, or the river Acheron. Which is also known as, I think, the River of Woe.
And a shit band, if you've ever heard them.
Oh, Acheron?
Yeah.
They're not nearly as good as Styx. In any case, I'm sure there is a band called Acheron, probably several. And he takes you over the river, but people got to leave a coin on your mouth as a payment. It's funny, I think in popular, it's usually the coins are on the eyes. But from what we can tell from surviving text, the coins
wants it right in the mouth,
or just like on top of the mouth, like
yeah.
And it's not a lot of money. It's just like a couple. It's like a couple nickels.
Maybe that's just like if it has to stay there, then it's hard to talk. Maybe he just wants quiet.
Yeah, could be. Okay, now the final aspect I wanted to get into is these rivers. So hell is filled with rivers. There's Styx, Acheron, and Phlegethon, which is a river of fire. Probably don't want to go water skiing on that one, I guess.
Not to be confused with the Lake of Fire.
Right. Lake of Fire in the sky. Are you thinking of the Nirvana Unplugged cover?
Yeah. What's the cover?
Is it Meat Puppets?
Yeah, I think it's Meat Puppets. They covered twice, I think, in that concert.
Maybe. Right? Well, they cover several of their songs. I think the Meat Puppets were there playing with them also.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, stay tuned for our Nirvana Unplugged episode. Some future occasional series. The most interesting river, though, is Lethe, which comes up a lot in poetry, later poetry. That's the river that you drink of and forget your earthly life.
Oh, okay, right.
So I think like the idea of being in the afterlife forever but not remembering anything.
Are you forced to, or are you given the option?
You have to.
You have to.
How do you feel about that? Would you rather, if you know you're going to be an unhappy, ornery shade forever, would you rather
no matter what?
Yeah. Would you rather have your memories of your life to torture you, or would you rather just be a kind of blank slate?
But then you wouldn't also have your good memories.
You wouldn't have good or bad memories. You're just kind of a blank slate.
Yeah. And you would take the good or bad memories, right?
I don't know. I mean, if it's really eternity. Now, remember, you can maybe gain temporary relief if you get some offerings from your relatives.
I don't know. I can't quite square it yet, but there's something off about your answer to the hypothetical at the beginning and that answer right there. But I haven't quite figured out what it is. I think that I would probably purge.
Purge? Do you take
eternity?
Yeah,
I would think I'd rather just even keel. I'd be about even keel. It's like just like I wouldn't listen to an album. You know what I mean? Also, I did want to say the funeral game that we were talking about, the Wizards, they actually won. You'll remember this now. It was in January, and then they met in the playoffs, and the Celtics beat them.
Okay. So the funeral game was in January.
Yes.
Why would they do that in January? It seems very foolish.
Because the Wizards had that thing. Remember, like a couple years in a row where they just would tell everybody that they were the best team in the East? They're just like their thing. We really think we're the best team in the East. They just never, ever. I don't even think they didn't make a conference finals.
No,
right?
I think second round was the max.
Which I think is where the Celtics beat them.
That tracks. Before losing to the Cavs, no doubt, in the...
Yes, in every year, yeah.
Well, except 2008, right?
Sure.
Well, all right. So what do you think about this Greek afterlife?
I mean, it's, I'm somewhat familiar with it just from existing in the world in the Western education system, but I don't know. I think I like the last one better.
It's not as satisfying, right?
It's not quite as satisfying. It's interesting, and there's, it's got some bangers in terms of the personalities.
Sisyphus, yeah.
And the gods are fantastic group. Just a great group.
And just so messy and so...
And the messiness of it all, that does appeal. Like if you were able to be like, even just witness to this type of messiness in your afterlife, that could be like a very, like an entertainment.
Yeah.
So that's where I land, but it's not as interesting to me in terms of how to experience eternity, I would say.
Yeah, I think I agree, basically. I think part of the problem is we have a lot of competing versions of this because Greek history was quite long and there are a lot of twists and turns, and Greek culture develops very dramatically from the Greek Dark Age through to the time of Plato and Aristotle and all these. So yeah, I think we're in agreement there. Now, next week, I thought we would take a departure. I thought it was time we visited the Americas. Now, temporally, this will be a little later, but I thought it'd be interesting to look into the Aztecs. What was the Aztecs' idea of the afterlife? And
no idea.
I think this is going to infuriate you when we get to it. So,
good. Well, I'll be sure to infuriate you with a hypothetical next week.
I can't wait.
I'm still allowed to do it. I'll make sure next week that it's grounded in all realities.
Well, I just don't, as long as it doesn't involve coprophagia again, which is the technical term for eating shit.
That's just like, it's not about being juvenile. It's that those are the two extremes.
I understand.
Meal and feces. Like, it's not, your mom would just be like, or a bad meal, Stu. You'd have to eat a bad meal every day. How would you like that? Would that be a better
No, it would not. It would not.
I'll go straight ahead. It'll be a very simple idea that requires no like stretching of the imagination or human possibility.
Stretching the imagination is fine, but anyway.
Well, no, what you're saying, what you don't want is an idea that like you have to imagine, I guess, that you can somehow hate eating shit every day and not get used to it. I'll find something like that.
Okay.
Where we can, something like that. And it won't be about like what album to listen to. If it sticks, if it's Acheron, you know what I mean? Like whatever.
Okay. So in the meantime, if you like the show, you can follow us on the podcatcher of your choice. If you really like the show, you can leave us a rating and or a review on said podcatcher. And you can follow us on Instagram at the end of the world WMS, where we post exciting reels from the show. So Aztec Afterlife next time. That'll be our last entry in this subgrouping of the Afterlife series. And then we'll be back to, movies and whatever horrible events have unfolded in the real world. But until then, this has been the end of the world with Michael and Stu.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Stu, and we will talk to you real soon.